Hello and welcome to News Express, exclusively brought to you by Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. I am Chikunonso Modi. Now let's take a look at the stories hitting the front page this week. Now the big story says Nigeria's health sector holds massive investment opportunities, says report. Now the sub-headlines, with the first one being $1 billion lost yearly as Nigerians seek treatment abroad. Another sub-headline says 3.7 trillion naira health infrastructure gap by 2020. Now, another big headline, growing demand for LPG exposes Nigeria's attractive market to business. Now, you should also check out finance and investment with the headline, embedded finance beats cards, POS. Also check out news that businesses need prepare for social unrest. Definitely look out for commodities and agriculture with R&D and Nigeria's food production. We also have executive knowledge series saying unlock your business relationship, and Project Syndicate with the WTO is back. Now let's bring in Philip Isakwa, the publisher of Business AM, to help us make sense of the headlines. Good morning, Philip.
Yeah, good morning, Nonso. It's good to be back again.
Yeah, good to have you here. How was your weekend?
Good. I hope yours was good as well.
Yes, thank you. Now, let's get right into it. Now, the first one, like I said, Nigeria's health sector holds massive investment opportunities, says report. Now, the attention of the global community of investors focused on healthcare has been drawn by a new report to the window of massive opportunities in Nigeria. Now, this report states that opportunities are opening up on the back of efforts to strengthen the sector in recent years, resulting in some progress being made on a number of health and wellness indicators. Now, there are investment opportunities that the report identified. Mr. Philip, what are they?
This is an interesting report that has just come out, and then it needs highlighting because of we've always talked about the different sectors of the economy that needs some form of investment. We've talked about infrastructure, and then you have the social areas, such as education and healthcare. Healthcare has been one in which we have seen quite a number of those who have the funds and the wherewithal, traveling outside the country to have, their health care taken care of, because of a paucity of certain infrastructure within this sector. Now, this report has gone in depth, produced by the Oxford Business Group. They have gone in to look at, especially because after COVID-19 broke, there was a lot of exposure. First, we had the issue that came up when that disease, that I can't remember now, came up some years ago, and we had a very robust response to it, and then COVID-19 came and then exposed quite a lot of loopholes, but before even COVID came, we've always had challenges in terms of how the healthcare sector was responding to the needs of the citizens, with regards to treatment facilities and even doctors complaining, and some of them even having to move away to other countries, to better practice their profession, So this report, on the back of that, looking at the responses that have come in terms of the opening up of the sector, because there is a funding gap actually, and then we've always maintained, on this side, that there are some things that are better left to the private sector, to take care of, and then we have seen that the healthcare sector is particularly one area that needs this to happen, and this report has exposed this. If you have a short, what's it called, a gap of infrastructure, gap of what they call identified as 3.7 trillion naira. That actually is an area that which means if you require that kind of money, government is not always going to be able to provide all of that. Not now. Given the precarious situation in which the country's finances, are. So this opens up an opportunity, but the opportunity is also as a result of what is said to be the effort that have been made, to open up the space, for some kind of collaboration or for private players to come in. Private players providing high quality medical services at new and existing facilities. So you have facilities that have been developed by government, and then the leeway is created for the private sector to come in, So it's kind of government sets up these facilities, and have the health, what's it called, private sector come in, in terms of management and in terms of bringing some funding to make it, so to have a collaborative approach to it. For instance, reports said there were 40,000 hospitals, and over 40,000, just under for 40.5 thousand hospitals and clinics, operating in Nigeria as of mid-2021. This 10,900 private facilities forming 27% of the total, and 29,468 public facilities forming 73% of the total. And again goes on to give a number of what you call statistics, where the opportunities, have opened up, for this to happen, But specifically, when it talks about 3.7 trillion as at 2020, a gap of 3.7 trillion in terms of infrastructural needs, for hospitals. It says it represents a sizable funding needs, to cater to the growing health care requirement of the countries, of the country, which has over 200 million people, Nigerians have always sought treatment. I mean, some Nigerians, not every Nigerian, sought treatment abroad, and they talk about 1 billion,
yes.
of fund, $1 billion, and it could be more. It could be more, $1 billion, $1 billion that Nigerians spend, when they go outside the country to treat. Now, what, in terms of investment, what that means is that there is capacity, for such monies to be spent, and they can be spent locally if you have the facilities, if you have if the investors look at this opportunity to provide what is needed, because it's almost like saying, it's not almost, it's saying the services are needed, and they're actually being sought, by people, and people are also willing to pay, so it means that if those facilities are here and the environment is right, for them to operate, it means investors can come in, and use, take opportunity, and provide those services and be able to have and to be able to make the money, that it's available. So different ways in which government has tried to create the environment, creating a model that they call the PPP, public-private partnerships, that can work. For instance, we've heard of, they said there are some PPP, the report identifies some PPP models, that are already existing, such as the Garki Hospital in Abuja, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Ibom Specialist Hospital in Akwa Ibom, and the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, as well as University College Hospital in Ibadan. So some PPP, windows have been created, and those ones are working. They say that it means that this, because this has been created, means that the opportunity is there, so they can choose to come this way. It's almost like, the report is opening up the eyes of global investors in this space, in the health services space, to look at or to see, what is possible in a country like Nigeria, especially in the health sector, for which they can bring in their money, to be able to invest in and make some money as well. There are so many other things that the report talks about in terms of the environment that has been created, for them to take opportunities, or take advantage of, So, for instance, they talked about investors qualifying for general investment incentives, such as a 120% tax deduction for research and development expenses, or writing off long-term research as capital expenditure against profit. So it seems like there are some things that have been put in place that makes it possible for investors to come in and take advantage and reap the benefits that you can think of.
Yes, the report is truly an eye-opener. And like you said, I was a bit skeptic with the report saying that, there has been tangible progress, number of health and wellness indicators in recent years. With us having a sub-headline saying that over 1 billion has been lost yearly as Nigerians seek treatment abroad. But then when you look at other things that the report brought out, you see where they're coming from. They spoke about the potential Nigeria has to boost local production capacity for consumable items, which is a really good one if we tap into that line.
Absolutely. So it's not just in terms of providing palliative care or providing treatment. We talk about hospitals having what you call doctors and nurses,
Yes.
and of taking care of the ill, those who are ill, but they also in terms of consumables, in terms of equipment, in terms of so you look at it from a broader. If you take a look at it from a broader perspective, it means that original equipment manufacturers have an opportunity to look into this economy, and see where they can come in to not just supply, but perhaps also assemble or manufacture locally, some of these things that are required, because the environment has been, there's some efforts have been made, to have an environment that allows this to happen, that makes it possible for them to come in and have some incentives, working with perhaps this PPP model, that where government will provide something and then they can come in and they take charge and provide, bring in their capital and then be able to provide certain things, But it's not even just that, There's also the aspects of technology, because medicine has gone beyond drugs and perhaps people providing care, to also the technology that has been infused in the treatment of people, and also not just in the treatment but also in the management of hospitals. One particular aspect of it which I found interesting is that that they found that across the country, paperwork with respect to management of patients, or management of hospitals, or management of clinics, is still rampant, and that in a world that has gone digital, technology has come in to be able to remove paper, the amount of paper that is used. If not, in some places, I believe completely no more paper. So they talked about how the technology can come in there to help in hospital management and even patient care. This of course technology has also come in with regards to the type of some kind of treatment that is provided, in hospitals and in clinics, and they say because this technology, such technologies are already in place in different parts of the country. Those people who have a proprietary right in these technologies can begin to look this way, because there's a gap for especially when they talk about opportunities. They talk about needs, about gaps that needs to be filled. So they say there's a gap. They've identified the gap. They talked about the size. A country that spends over $1 billion. You can imagine, if you are an investor, or you have a group of investors who are able to come in and set up a shop and be able to keep $500 million of that, or even a quarter of it in the country. That can be very beneficial to any investor that looks into the country as for the opportunities that have been identified here. So these are the things that they are looking at. One aspect, for instance, say Nigeria's expanding population. Okay, again, you have to look at the market size, and underlying fundamentals make it an attractive proposition for the international investment community. That's one statement that the managing director of Africa for OBG was saying, in this report. Again, talked about the pandemic creating new opportunities for expansion and innovation, and public funds, with public funds being limited, it points to the health sector as ripe for development. That's the word they use, that the health sector of Nigeria is ripe for development, as it offers opportunities that range from capital projects to the provision of high-quality medical services, and at new and existing facilities. Now, that's the point. The point is that they talk about new and existing facilities. So I think they identified the fact that there has been an opening, I don't know, with regards to policy, that can allow investors to identify existing facilities that they believe that they can bring some improvement, and then share in ratios that will be beneficial. So it's not just them coming, and starting up a virgin project. They can come in, identify existing facilities and see how indeed they can make interventions in those existing facilities in this PPP model that government perhaps seems to be encouraging, that's for this report. I'm sure will hit the international community, especially the investor communities globally, and in particular those who are in the healthcare space, and who want to bring in money. You won't be surprised. I'm sure the Indians have come in. I think you must have noticed one or two Indian facilities with regards to hospitals. No one says that people won't come in from the Middle East, Dubai, and the rest of it, and then you probably see people come in from Europe to look at the opportunities, that this report is talking about.
I mean, it's definitely raining opportunities in Nigeria, because even our second headline too speaks about this, business opportunities that investors can tap into. It's just now left in the hands of Nigeria to, see where the gap is and try to close it. Exactly.
This is trying to attract international investors, who have investors who have deep pocket, but that does not mean that domestic investors, who also have deep pocket, cannot look into this direction.
Yes.
There are some investments that might not seem like tangible in terms of it's not like trading, where you put in some investment in terms of buying some goods and then offloading those goods and getting your payment straight away and going to the bank. But these are areas where you have certain type of investors with serious focus, on the possibilities that they provide with regards to the services that are offered. They talk about the monetary aspect, of course, but it's also about the services that they provide. Healthcare is a delicate area. It's not one like buying and selling or importing one commodities or the other, but it also offers opportunities for domestic investors to look in.
Exactly. Now, going to the second headline quickly now, like I said, it's also about opportunities with growing demand for LPG, exposing Nigeria's attractive market to business. Now, the domestic demand for liquefied petroleum gas or cooking gas in Nigeria has shot up significantly in the last 14 years, from about 60,000 metric tons in 2007 to over 1 million metric tons as of 2020. Now, this has made Nigeria one of the fastest growing LPG markets in the world. But then we still have the same problem. It's presenting a huge business opportunity, but then we haven't tapped into it. Experts worry about this. So, Mr. Philip, what are we not doing right? What exactly is the challenge with the sector?
We have had this, we've had LPG issues, or cooking gas, for some time. I think last year, at the moment, the price of gas has shot up, it hasn't come down, it hasn't come down, since we had this crisis. We talked about it, I think, last year, when the market went crazy, but it's about investment in the sector, with a view to producing this. What did we have last year? We had a situation where suddenly there was first the addition of VAT, that again that we weren't producing enough, but we were then importing. We didn't know about the importation until you had this crisis. We didn't know that there was already importation going on, until we had the crisis. And what did the crisis expose? It informed. We got informed that it was because hitherto those LPGs that were imported weren't VATed. They did not add VAT to it. So when government decided to, you remember the 2020 or something?
Yes, 2020.
Finance Act or whatever that came up, and then added they added this VAT to the gas that was LPG that was being imported, and then the whole hell broke loose. And with what's it called, retailers or whatever, the wholesalers had to add that to the price of LPG, and that's when everybody got to know that Nigeria was importing LPG. But also that's because we weren't producing enough, even though they say we have gas all over the place, so there hasn't been adequate investment. There are so many obstacles in the way, whether in terms of regulation or the way again, we keep talking about how that industry, the oil and gas industry, is opaque, in terms of nobody understanding what goes on in the sector, things not been very clear, So investment has not been quite has not gone in there, and perhaps nobody expected that there will be growing demand for LPG, or the consumption of LPG domestically will rise, within 14 years to a point where you have from 60,000 metric tons to over 1 million metric tons. That's quite a remarkable leap, But again, and so it's the problem with not making use of statistics or not being engaging with the social space in terms of how people are rising or growing. Once we talked about the middle class rising, some years ago, a decade or more ago, and then nobody took it seriously with regards to policy formulation, because when you have the middle class rising, then you will have obviously people moving away from what they used to use in terms of cooking. For instance, it's just almost like if a village is, if you bring electricity to the village, to a village, of course they will stop using lanterns, or if you and as more people become wealthier, of course they will be moving from their old ways, to new ways, and using gas for cooking instead of kerosene burners, will be an option that people will gravitate to, which means there's going to be an increased usage of LPG, and policy people ought to be providing, making sure that whatever gaps, that can exist will be closed, So, but this didn't happen. The producers of LPG, kept producing what they were producing, And for instance, what's it called, the Nigerian liquefied natural gas company, was concentrating on largely its exportation of natural gas, and did not make provision, enough provision to produce domestic, produce LPG for the domestic market, and because of that, you had a shortage. And if many people are not producing, if many manufacturers are not producing, we are likely going to have that challenge, and that is what has come up here. But the good thing is that those are challenges. Those challenges will need to be overcome, and to overcome will be for investors to come in. The thing is that our role is to expose these opportunities. For instance, there will be places where investors do not know that in the last 14 years, demand for LPG domestically has gone up from 60,000 metric tons to 1 million metric tons. And investors will be somewhere punching their calculators or doing their spreadsheet, to see how they can leverage on this growing demand. Because it's going to continue to grow. Population is going to continue to increase. As population increases, you're going to have people in the middle class who will be growing. And especially with the all the campaign going on about a greenhouse effect or climate change. Where attention is being moved away from from fossil fuel, to more cleaner energy resource. More people are going to be using gas. But again, there is a deliberate policy, for this to happen. If there's a deliberate policy, then it will be important for government to lay its cards on the table and open up for international investors and domestic investors to come in and see how this growing demand can be met. And there's no other way to look at this.
All right. Definitely we'll see what happens, the changes that will come this week. We'll see how the stories develop. Mr. Philip.
Thank you very much, Nonso. Have a great week.
You too. That was Philip Isakwa, the publisher of Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more.